Good morning and hello. This is Greg Risterman from Olympus. I'd like to welcome everyone today to this webinar titled Introduction to the EPOCH 6LT Flaw Detector. This webinar will introduce the new EPOCH 6LT Portable Ultrasonic Flaw Detector to our customer base, emphasizing the key features of the instrument and the core benefits that the instrument provides. Our presenter today is Coleman Flanagan. Coleman is the Senior Product Manager for ultrasound and phased array flaw detectors. He has over 10 years experience in the NDT industry, managing global support, training, and resource materials for ultrasound products, and is responsible for the future development of Olympus ultrasonic and phased array flaw detectors. This informational webinar will last approximately 1 hour. If you have questions, please type them into the Q&A panel in the lower right portion of your screen during the presentation. The chat panel is not used for Q&A. If we are not able to get to your questions during the live event, they will be addressed personally either by email or phone after the event is over. Now, without further ado, I would like to turn the presentation over to Coleman Flanagan. Coleman, take it away.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our presentation on the latest addition to the Olympus conventional flaw detector line, the EPOCH 6LT. This is a very exciting product, and I'm really happy to be able to present this to you today. Olympus is proud to bring this to the market. The EPOCH 6LT has actually been in the market since the end of June of this year, but if you're just coming back from summer holidays, this is an excellent time for you to gain some more information about this great new product, and so we'll continue on to provide you a really good highlight of what this instrument can do as we go through the webinar today. The EPOCH 6LT may look large on your screen. In fact, it's quite a handheld product. It's designed to be quite small. It has a lot of very interesting functionality, both within the electronics and the acoustic capabilities of the instrument, but also specifically in the mechanics and the ergonomic design of the flaw detector. It features a very large, nice, bright display, but that is complemented by a very easy-to-use single-hand operation of the instrument. So we'll go over some of the acoustic capabilities of the instrument, but we also will present quite a bit of the ergonomics and mechanics to demonstrate to you exactly how useful this flaw detector can be, especially in complicated or somewhat hazardous environments. The EPOCH 6LT was specifically designed for customers and NDT technicians that value high portability in a UT flaw detector. And it's very common in historical flaw detectors that in order to achieve this sort of high portability value statement, the user often had to take some trade-offs with other functions or the other capabilities of the instrument. So as part of our design focus, Olympus was very, very conscious of keeping this idea of no compromises for the EPOCH 6LT. And we'll talk about this, this will be the recurring theme throughout the webinar. But this idea of no compromises really means that Olympus has been able to bring to you, excuse me, a flaw detector that is both very portable, very capable ergonomically, and very robust for field use, but also very capable acoustically and should perform extremely well in a variety of applications and be flexible to different materials and different concerns from the ultrasonic point of view. So we had some main design points that we wanted to focus on for this flaw detector. The first, of course, is having an innovative, user-friendly design. When designing a flaw detector for single-hand operation, it does require that Olympus, that companies like ourselves, need to adapt the user interface to the human interface of the product. As you can see from the photos that you've seen so far, there's really very few actual buttons for your thumb to press on this instrument. That allows us to keep a very small profile of the instrument, very small envelope. So these keys become very important to navigation and driving the software. This user-friendly design being something that's also adaptable for just single-hand use allows less risk of instrument damage. It's also designed for very easy use with gloves. So this is truly an instrument that can be used indoors, it can be used outdoors, it can be used in lab environments if necessary, but also in some of the harshest environments that face the NDT community. The overall size of the instrument and the weight, which we'll specify in some additional slides, but it is under a kilogram, so it's less than 2 pounds. So this allows very low wrist fatigue and arm fatigue while holding the instrument for extended periods of time. And that size also allows the user to carry multiple instruments, whether it's multiple 6LTs or whether it's multiple disciplines, NDT disciplines, different instruments such as eddy current, bond testing, as well as ultrasound, and not have to lug around very large containers, very large roller cases to facilitate all of this equipment. From an efficiency standpoint, of course, Olympus has had a very strong focus on designing the software to be very efficient to use, and also designing the human interface with that software to be very comfortable. But we've also focused quite heavily on designing features within the instrument that allow great sort of integration into different customer workflows and provide a lot of efficiency for an NDT technician. That includes really a full suite of software functionality. So again, back to the idea of no compromises, the EPOCH 6LT has very strong performance acoustically. It has all of the sizing features that an NDT technician may require for a variety of procedures and code compliance and different field use. The instrument is also Olympus's first EPOCH series flaw detector to offer optional wireless capability. And we'll touch on the functionality of that wireless capability a little later in the presentation. But this is an exciting addition that both allows sort of a modern spin to UT flaw detection, but absolutely provides value in terms of efficiency of data transfer and communication between remote locations and central locations for our service inspection companies. And finally, Olympus has worked to redesign the corrosion module software that you may have been familiar with on our EPOCH 600 and EPOCH 650 flaw detectors to provide even higher value for those customers that are doing corrosion inspections in the field, and specifically for rope access customers that are providing corrosion surveys on assets in, again, quite hazardous environments. And when we speak about hazardous environments, we can talk a lot about the ability of this instrument to be robust and talk about the usability of acoustic features. But of course, Olympus also cares deeply about the safety of the NDT technicians using our equipment. So a prime design focus for the EPOCH 6LT, since it is targeted to some of these environments that can be more hazardous than others within the NDT community, is to ensure user safety while working with this equipment. We'll describe to you an accessory, which is another really exciting addition to what we have to offer with this EPOCH 6LT that we're calling our rope access accessory kit. That allows virtually hands-free operation of this instrument, especially while being used in a rope access environment. And it allows the user to prioritize first the safety while working in that environment before they have to worry about actually operating the flaw detector and using this tool to achieve the results of their job. So this idea of user safety, of course, it's always important in Olympus's industrial equipment design, but for the 6LT, we know that that's of particular importance to our customers, and this is something that we've worked very hard to make sure that we provide a very strong value statement for that concept of safety. So among a variety of applications. The EPIC 6LT is really, again, designed very specifically for high portability and specifically rope access customers. So we see some very large opportunities for our customer base to utilize this instrument in some primary applications in the NDT market. One of the major applications, and continues to grow in importance in the conditions of power generation requirements of the world today, are wind turbine inspections. So this would be both blade inspections as well as tower inspections of wind turbines, without the cost associated with building scaffolding around a tower and having to try to climb up the side of the structure. We have a lot of customers that are now rappelling down the side of these wind turbines by rope and attempting to perform their inspections after sort of dangling precariously above the ground. The EPIC 6LT, we took very careful care to make sure that we're designing the instrument to support these applications well. General infrastructure is another area where in many of the global regions we see a strong economic investment in infrastructure development. So for structural steel inspections, for bridge inspections, for other structures that are supporting pipelines and tanks, there's a lot of value, again, in the EPIC 6LT to be something that's very small, very portable, but also very capable in dealing with the specific requirements of these types of applications. So the 6LT has a focus to support both rope access as well as simply, high portability requirements for the infrastructure market. And offshore platforms is another application, another segment of the market that we focus quite heavily on while designing and of course promoting the EPIC 6LT. Not only do the value statements that I've already covered in terms of rope access and user safety apply in the offshore platform scenario, but as I've also mentioned, our focus on redesigning our corrosion module is of particular value to this market, where many of our customers are utilizing flaw detectors today to achieve both flaw inspections, more traditional weld and defect inspections, but also corrosion surveys and corrosion inspections. So this is one area of focus both on the ergonomics and safety concerns, as well as the instrument feature development that we wanted to make sure that we tackled with the development of this EPIC 6LT. In terms of other markets that appreciate high portability but are not necessarily specific to rope access technicians, pipeline, of course, is a major market for the NDT industry for ultrasound, and it's an area that should benefit quite well from the EPIC 6LT. This is in particular users that need to carry a lot of gear or need to do sort of remote inspections along pipeline. This flaw detector is very small. It's very easy to carry around and perform fast inspections, whether it's, again, weld inspection, whether it's base material flaw inspection, or whether it's corrosion surveys. This is a very interesting addition to our portfolio to support the pipeline industry. The aerospace industry is another, especially aerospace maintenance, is another industry where we see our customers struggling to really carry all of the equipment that they need. In a lot of cases, when you have an aircraft on the ground and it needs immediate attention to get back into service, technicians will have to jump on another plane and travel some distance to arrive at the site and rapidly get that inspection complete. And in many cases, those technicians need to bring multiple NDT disciplines with them. Ultrasound, in fact, is not always the primary inspection technique. In many cases, eddy currents or something similar would be the most important technique. So the EPIC 6LT, in its very small size, very small envelope, allows users to carry multiple pieces of equipment with them, again, without having to have multiple roller cases, large Pelican or Storm cases that they're dragging around in order to achieve these sort of rapid results and rapid inspections required for aerospace maintenance. The rail industry is another industry that has very similar requirements in terms of remote locations, in terms of needing a piece of equipment that's very small, very portable for rail inspection prove-up after what's typically done is more of a automated or semi-automated scan of the rail. And so the EPIC 6LT is designed really nicely to support that kind of high portability remote location inspection and prove up of a variety of defects. So those are some of the sort of high-level values and design concepts that Olympus employed to bring you this really, again, really exciting, really interesting flaw detector to augment our flaw detector portfolio. If we dive a little bit more into the details of the ultrasonic performance, we're very confident that you won't be let down as you look into those details. So again, through this concept of no compromise, in the past, you may be used to having a very highly portable instrument that ends up being a little disappointing in terms of its ultrasonic flexibility and its ultrasonic capability. The EPIC 6LT flaw detector, in fact, is based very heavily on the design of the popular EPIC 650 flaw detector that's been in the market since 2015. So you'll see a lot of commonalities in terms of core acoustic functionality. Things like our pulsar power, this is really a hallmark of Olympus flaw detector and EPIC flaw detector functionality. We do offer a tunable square wave pulsar that features very, very accurate and high power output to transducers, and this is primarily focused on low frequency transducer function. But this tunable square wave pulsar is very easy to use. It allows inspections both of structural steel when using 2 or 4 megahertz, but also for wind blade inspections when you're dealing with very thick composite materials and attenuating materials. We can very effectively utilize low frequency transducers like a 500 kilohertz or below and still get very, very strong power output. You'll see a little further down this list, our pulsar voltage is also selectable up to 400 volts, which is really class leading in terms of the market segment that we're targeting here with this EPIC 6LT flaw detector. So again, this flaw detector is much more flexible than what you may be used to in a very portable instrument. We do maintain our very strong signal to noise ratio functionality through our digital filtering. And for those of you, if any, that are concerned with compliance to European standards, whether it's because you live in the European region or because you're doing work for companies that comply with those standards, the EPIC 6LT is designed in full compliance to the EN 12668 2010 sort of qualification flaw detector code. Whether you actually require that compliance or not, that's actually just a very strong statement to the capabilities and the high characteristics of this flaw detector. In addition to these core functions, the EPIC 6LT also features all of the sort of standard sizing features that are required by the industry. So it features onboard DAC and TCG functionality. That's not optional. That's a standard feature with the EPIC 6LT. And similarly, it features onboard and standard DGS curve functionality for sizing defects that may require that DGS function instead of DAC. We do also feature an optional AWS calculator, so that's the American Welding Society calculator in accordance with the D1.1 and D1.5 defect rating code and procedures. And the EPIC 6LT also features an optional backwall echo attenuator, primarily used for people doing sizing techniques with either DAC or DGS, but also attempting to monitor backwall dropout. So this is a really nice feature for larger castings, larger component inspection, looking for small flaws within the body of a material, but as I said, also looking for backwall dropout. And then, as I've mentioned before, we have an optional corrosion module, which really balances well high precision corrosion measurements, thickness measurements for pitting and for other modes of corrosion. Corrosion erosion, and but also allows a sort of a rapid flaw scanning capability. So it balances well the needs of a flaw detector and defect scanning paradigm, as well as higher precision thickness measurements that you might get out of a corrosion gauge. From a receiver performance capability, this is also a flaw detector that's built in the full standards of the EPIC series and the Olympus quality. So we see not only a industry standard gain adjustment up to 110 dB, but also extremely stable signals across that entire range. Very good signal to noise ratio as a result of our very capable digital filtering capabilities. And you'll see here that we have 8 different narrowband filters, well, narrowband and in some cases more broadband filters, to accommodate a very wide range of frequency requirements for flaw detector applications. And that includes a filter that we call our DC to 10 megahertz filter, which basically has a very low frequency component to it, essentially no high pass filter applied, which means that, again, for thicker materials, for composite materials, for highly attenuating and scattering materials that require low frequency transducers, we have very strong capabilities to accommodate the requirements of those applications. So we've reviewed a lot of the EPIC 6LT's acoustic functionality, and of course, it's as part of the webinar, it's a little bit more of a broad overview, but we also want to talk to you a little bit about the reporting capabilities of the 6LT. It's becoming much more common in the NDT industry for our users to digitally record their inspection results, and in fact provide those digital results into a digital report. And so Olympus has taken some careful steps to improve the overall usability of the data logger and the reporting structure on an instrument like the EPIC 6LT, but also improve the accessibility of our users to that information once it's stored on the instrument. So from our base onboard storage, we provide calibration or setup file types as well as inspection files, both sort of a serial incremental file style, but as well as 2D files. So 2D is much more common in the corrosion survey scenario and allows us to map both rows and columns of thickness measurements. Now, once that data is actually stored on board the instrument, we have a variety of different output capabilities to facilitate report generation. So we can output any of the files in a CSV format, which is very easily read by a spreadsheet program like Microsoft Excel or Google. We also have a binary file type that allows you to store data on the instrument, and in particular setup files, calibration files, and then swap those files or bring them to other instruments. So if you are managing a fleet of EPIC 6LT instruments and you have one instrument that has sort of your golden standard calibration files, perhaps for a job that you're working on, you can distribute those files to a variety of different instruments through this binary file type. We also support outputting or exporting our files in an XML format, and that's maybe a little bit less useful in its raw form, but many of our customers are familiar with XML as it's used as a type of database format for things like web pages. And so for the customers that want to do some work on their side to automate their reporting capabilities, this XML file format is a really great handshake file to go from the EPIC 6LT instrument and then get automated or automatically imported into a digital report on the customer side. So it's a really nice open source way of processing that data. We're also featuring onboard creation of PDF reports on the EPIC 6LT. So that allows sort of a protected format report that can come directly off of the instrument into removable media like a standard USB stick and can be printed and immediately distributed as a summary report of the both the A-scan, the waveform that was captured at a particular point within your inspection, but as well as the calibration data and thickness readings. And we do feature screen captures, basic screen captures and report outputs in a bitmap format as well. So that's another format that's just very easily transferable into a variety of different reports or printed directly so that customers can gain immediate access to the data. The EPIC 6LT features an onboard video recording feature, and that allows some brief, up to 8 minutes, but relatively brief recordings so that instead of providing just a static image of a waveform, customers can actually do a recording of the echo dynamics from a particular inspection. This is very, very useful for angle beam inspections, for fine crack detection, being able to demonstrate exactly the moment where a signal peaks up and provides sort of a record of that inspection modality. All of these report formats can be output directly to USB memory, and it's a standard USB host port, so off-the-shelf USB memory as well as that provided by Olympus works very well with this flaw detector. And if your memory dongle is small enough, it actually plugs into the instrument and allows you to close the side door so it maintains the environmental ruggedness as well as being a very convenient way to transfer files. But speaking of convenience of transferring files, probably the most convenient way to output these files is through our optional wireless capability. So not all of our customers either want to take advantage of this or unfortunately may be able to take advantage of this depending on the restrictions that your region or your company enforces on you. But this optional wireless capability is a really exciting addition to the EPIC 6LT as well as to the offering from the Olympus industrial portfolio. So you should stay tuned to Olympus and our website. We'll be launching our Olympus Scientific Cloud coming probably next month. And this is going to be a website that you can register for free, and it will allow you to then register your EPIC 6LT device to your account and do everything from wireless firmware upgrades of the instrument when we provide new software for the instrument, as well as processing these data files and pushing them into the cloud for storage and for really easy access, even if you're in a remote location. So this is a really great way to tie in this flaw detector into the sort of more globalized world that we live in of data processing and data transfer in a wireless method. In terms of just the basic ruggedness and usability of the EPIC 6LT flaw detector, the instrument does feature a rotary knob control. So for parameter adjustment, for value slewing, this is a very traditional and very easy way to manipulate the instrument once you're highlighted on a parameter. It has a very comfortable hand grip area. And in fact, what we've done is we've designed the instrument to have the battery, which typically carries a lot of the weight of these flaw detector instruments. The battery is actually located within the hand grip area. So that moves the center of gravity of this instrument closer to your wrist. And as I mentioned before, it really reduces the amount of fatigue, the amount of stress that it puts on your hand while you're manipulating the instrument. We have 4 keys, four hard buttons on the instrument, And they're very simple to remember. So if you use a computer on a regular basis, you've got a tab function, you've got an enter function, an escape key, and a shift key. And so we really use these keys to manage the navigation and in invoking different commands within the software of the EPIC 6LT. And after we go through just a few more slides, in fact, we'll give you a brief live demonstration of that instrument user interface so that you can see how those keys are very well integrated into the software navigation and control of the unit, being something that allows you to really operate the whole unit with just a single hand. Another really interesting feature of the EPIC 6LT is our ability to rotate the display. And so as you can see here, when you turn the instrument 90 degrees from its standard mode of operation, the instrument automatically, through use of an accelerometer, is able to rotate the display from sort of a landscape view to a portrait mode. And this is really intended for use during inspection, not for use during calibration or setup of the instrument. But it's got a very unique use case when we consider it in conjunction with this rope access accessory kit that I mentioned earlier in our presentation today. So this rope access accessory kit, it's a really innovative design that an accessory that we've added for this EPIC 6LT. And again, it speaks to the fact that we're trying to make sure that our rope access customers in particular not only feel very comfortable using the instrument as an ultrasonic tool, but also feel very safe when using this instrument and still managing all of the different concerns that come with rope access inspection. So as you can see from the pictures here, this rope access kit it's a few different components. The main component is a soft pouch that fully encases the EPIC 6LT. And in fact, this pouch can be used even not in a rope access modality as a place for a 4-point connection for a chest harness, or simply to keep the instrument clean and safe from the environment. It does have, if you can see down here folded up, it has a screen protector. So this unravels like a tablet cover and fully covers the screen and has rigid components to it. So while you're maneuvering and not using the flaw detector, you're able to protect the display from things bumping into it and causing any damage. Once the instrument is encased in this soft pouch, on the back of the pouch we have connections that allow the instrument to be strapped to your leg. So the instrument can be oriented sort of in this portrait mode, this vertical orientation along the axis of your leg and strapped down very securely to your leg. And then, of course, when you stand up, it's possible for the instrument to slide down your leg. So we have two other harnesses that connect to a utility belt. This allows our rope access customers to carry the instrument around very snugly connected to their bodies. It's not dangling, it's not swaying in the wind, it's not getting in the way of key support harnesses or safety harnesses. And once you're in position in your harness in a rope access inspection, really the operator's in a sitting position. And so this brings the instrument screen well into view of the operator. It allows the controls to be accessible from either your left or your right hand, which allows the user to maintain stability with both hands while arriving at your inspection location, and then allows the user to switch hands with the ultrasonic probe and still maintain control of the instrument. So as an additional accessory to the EPIC 6LT, this provides a lot of really good value to people that are working in this rope access environment. Another very useful and very simple accessory for the EPIC 6LT is this desktop stand that we have depicted on this slide. One of the trade-offs of having an instrument that is so ergonomic that you'll want to hold it constantly during your inspection, that really it fits so comfortably in your hand, it's very easy to use. What that carries with it, though, is that when you put it down on the desk, it doesn't tilt back necessarily to an optimal viewing angle. So for our customers that are looking to download reports from the instrument or calibrate the instrument, set up the instrument in sort of more of a desktop or lab environment before they go into the field, this very simple metallic stainless steel desktop stand allows an optimal viewing angle for the instrument. It doesn't get into the complexities of also being a smart dock where it charges and it can have electronic components that fail. And that means that Olympus can provide this to you at a really low cost as well. So it's a very simple, very affordable, but very, very useful tool that's an optional accessory for the EPIC 6LT. Now, we do have customers that would like to be able to put the instrument down in a field use environment, and this desktop stand is exactly that. It's really for desktop use, so it's not nearly as conducive for field use. But Olympus has considered this as well, and so a final extremely useful component of the mechanical design of the EPIC 6LT is a standard 1/4-20 threaded insert that's in the bottom of the casing of the EPIC 6LT. And this 1/4-20, quarter-inch, 20 counts per inch threaded insert is the standard size for almost all camera adapters and accessories throughout the world. So virtually any third-party gooseneck adapter or camera adapter, including tripods, including magnetic, as well as suction cup adapters, these are all immediately usable and adaptable to the EPIC 6LT. In the past, companies like Olympus have had to develop their own set of accessories to meet these unique demands from our customers. And we understand that because there's so many different environments and scenarios and use cases that exist in the world of NDT, it's really not possible for Olympus to develop all the accessories that meet all of your needs. So our hope in this case is that you'll find the accessory from a third-party provider that suits your need exactly, and we've provided the integration to that accessory through this standard threaded insert. So as promised, I'd like to move now to a brief live demonstration of the EPIC 6LT user interface. I think that pictures can serve as a good way to actually demonstrate the way that the mechanics are designed for this instrument, although I strongly encourage you to contact your local Olympus representative and actually get an instrument in your hands for a in-person demonstration, because this instrument, it's amazing how good it actually feels when you're holding onto it. But from a user standpoint, in terms of navigation and flaw detector functionality, we wanted to provide this live demo. And I will warn you that, just as is somewhat common with webinar sessions such as this, there's probably a little bit of a screen lag, so please bear with us as we go slowly through this user interface and just touch on some of the high points of navigation. So what you're seeing on your screen at the moment is our main inspection screen. So you can see that we've focused very heavily, once you're in an inspection mode, to provide a very large, very clear A-scan waveform on your display. And we reserve just the top part of the screen for instrument measurements, for digital measurements, as well as for gain adjustment. And as you can see, highlighted right now in red is the box for gain adjustment. So if I manipulate the knob, the wheel that's on the side of the instrument, with some delay as expected, that brings up our gain control, and that's our primary control, default control for the instrument. But through a simple press of the tab key, I'm actually able to navigate to different locations around this screen. And the first area of navigation is a sidebar menu that slides out from the left side of the screen. Now, since the EPIC 6LT is designed to have only 4 main navigation buttons, it does depart a little bit from the traditional EPIC focus or design focus on direct access keys to our main requirements. But this sidebar menu provides exactly that, that you may have been used to in your EPIC 4, EPIC XT, or EPIC 650 flaw detector in terms of direct access to key inspection controls. So through this sidebar menu, we have access to your gate adjustment to functions such as save and freeze, and also range adjustment. And these are, you can navigate through these adjustments using the knob, and through a simple press of the Enter key, you can invoke adjustment of that value and adjust things like range down to exactly the acoustic range that you're looking for. In this case, we'll adjust down to 2.5 inches. And my apologies for those that are not in the United States. Of course, the instrument works very well in the metric system as well. This sidebar menu, we can actually make a selection to have this be always available on the screen. But for many of our customers, once you've made your adjustments here, you can press the Tab key, and that sidebar menu actually disappears, so you're back to a full screen mode. And you'll notice that now the red highlight has moved to the top of the screen. Within any of these landing areas at the top of our screen, we can press the Enter key, and you'll see that we actually have pull-down menus or contextual menus that appear that allow direct access to functions that are associated with that area of the screen. So in this case, we're highlighted on the file name that's active on the instrument, and by pressing Enter, we have access to recalling a calibration file, creating a new file, or even exporting the data from this file to one of the formats that we've discussed previously in our demonstration. Another area that's particularly useful is when highlighted on the gain function, pressing the Enter key allows direct access to the sort of famous Auto 80 function for the EPIC series, which dates back to our EPIC 4 instrument from the early part of the 2000s. And so this Auto 80 function is very easy to access from gain from our sort of home area of the screen, and provides dynamic gain access, very rapid gain adjustment to a fixed value, a fixed target of screen height. And of course, Auto 80 is the default, but as a user, you can prescribe that to be a Auto 100% or Auto 60% or any other target reference height that's required by your particular inspection. So there's quite a bit that can be actually performed from this main inspection screen on the EPIC 6LT. But for things like calibration of the unit, setting up the sizing techniques such as DAC, we do have a separate screen for this, and this is our split screen mode. So we go away from the full screen A-scan, and now from that, again, from the left side of the screen, we have a menu area that allows you access to deeper control of the instrument. And Olympus is focused on trying to provide both written instruction or written labeling for what these categories are, but also a very easy icon system, so that it's very fast to identify the controls that you want to make adjustments to and actually achieve results within those controls. So as an example, if we wanted to adjust our pulsar settings, we would highlight this pulsar icon and press the Enter key. And now we have access to all of our major pulsar settings, including energy damping and the frequency of our tunable pulsar. By pressing Escape, we can go back up one level. Or we have a convenient home key, which is a second function or a shift on the instrument that allows us to jump back to our full screen inspection mode with the gain control highlighted. So the split screen mode actually provides very good access to acoustic setup, to calibration, and again to sizing techniques such as DAC, DGS, AWS. You can also turn on the video record function from the tools menu within this split screen mode. And while in the split screen mode, you can continue to tab to your other landing areas in the top toolbar of the screen and get the same drop-down functionality, contextual menu functionality that we see in our live inspection screen. For deeper setup of the instrument, such as your clock settings and other manipulations of the core settings, the instrument has a third sort of full setup screen. We sometimes refer to this as our desktop setup screen. So by entering the instrument settings menu from the split screen, this is where we arrive at our settings menu. And again, a very strong emphasis was placed on making these icon-based so that it's very intuitive for the user to scroll through all of these different settings. This is where we can do things such as in our user key setting in the middle of your screen, we can actually customize what the home key does. So we have a little bit of user customization within the instrument as well. The home key defaults to returning your screen to the inspection mode highlighted on game. But for some of our customers that are continuously saving data, it may be much more convenient for that customer to prescribe that the home key is in fact the save key. So there is some customization that's possible on the EPIC 6LT. And that sidebar menu that I showed you at the beginning of the demonstration, that can also be customized. So if gate 1 start, let's say, is not your primary function, we can reorder that menu so that freeze, range, save, and many other functions are the primary, the sort of the top level function from that sidebar menu. Within this desktop setting functionality, this is also where our users can do things like set up their wireless capabilities. So I've just plugged in a wireless dongle to the instrument, and it automatically recognizes that dongle and activates my Wi-Fi setup menu. And within that Wi-Fi setup menu, you'll see very convenient and very obvious controls. So we can select from a list of different Olympus, in this case Olympus networks that are available to me in our headquarters here in the United States. We can easily connect to those networks by providing a user name and a login. And then we can also control our cloud settings from this desktop setup menu. So it's very, very easy to connect to a wireless access point and then to be able to transfer data once you're in that wireless paradigm. Olympus does provide a wireless dongle that we know works very well with the EPIC 6LT. Due to regulatory requirements, that dongle may not be available in all regions of the world for you to purchase through Olympus. But the protocol, the driver support for that dongle is something that we can provide to you so that you can source the dongle locally and still take advantage of these really exciting wireless features that we're capable with the EPIC 6LT flaw detector. And with that explanation, this concludes both the demonstration of the EPIC 6LT user interface, as well as the main component of our webinar today. I'd like to thank all of you for attending the webinar. We hope that you find the EPIC 6LT as exciting and interesting a product as we do. And for those of you that are already working in the environments for rope access and in harsh environments for the NDT community, we hope that this is an instrument that will be of particular usefulness for you going forward in the future. So thank you very much for attending today, and I'll turn the presentation back over to Greg to conclude our session.
Thanks, Coleman. On behalf of Olympus, I'd like to thank all the attendees for joining us and Coleman for his expertise and participation in today's event. We hope the material presented was informative and useful. This webinar will be archived on our website at www.olympus-ims.com. Everyone who registered for the event will receive a follow-up email with links to the archived presentation. That's going to do it for this session. Thanks again for attending, and we'll see you again next time.